After 30 years of practice, I can say that design is giving shape to your visions, to your dreams, to your ideas. And to give a shape is like creating out of nothing. It's like, the mud, there is this idea of God, from the mud giving shape and modeling every creature. And that's something that has a lot to do with what we do. In the end, think about it. Architects, designers are the last defenders of three-dimensionality. In a world that is getting more and more flat, because we live out of visions, we live out of images. We are the last defenders of the fact that we're still made of flesh and blood, that we still make kids in the heat of our beds, and that's the cycle of life. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we forget that there is life and there is death. There is a cycle that we have to accomplish. And so giving shape to things is something that is incredibly powerful. As a designer, you always have to be like a critical consciousness of your time, This is very important. You cannot just take things as they are, you want to change them eventually. And for example, something, there is a lot of people theorizing about it. We live in a world called machine of chaos. What's really making chaotic our children's brain? Social media. The social media made everything confused. Okay, think about an image. An image is like poison in the well. It's a very old image. You put a drop of poison in a big tank of water, and you cannot drink that water anymore. So it's like in social media. It's like you mix fake and real, and people don't know what to think. So we have to trace a line. That's very important. That as a designer, but as men, as human beings, it's very important nowadays to trace a line, because really, we are surrounded by chaos and we don't have the instruments. We kind of have, but our kids don't have the instruments to understand how to get what's real and what's not. And more, it will be like that. With artificial intelligence, you can fake Trump making a democratic speech. You know what I mean? It's like, you can fake whatever you want. So that to trace a line between truth and lies, it's so important nowadays. Design can help because you perceive design with your body, and your body don't lie. Images lie, your body don't, your perception don't. So that we have to defend the fact that we are made of bodies. We have to experience things with all our senses, not only with our eyes. That makes a huge difference. You cannot lie to a body. Actually, it's interesting, Daniel. We had known each other over the phone or over emails, whatever. But then knowing each other, there is something ancient. There is something instinctual. And our bodies perceive each other, understand each other, even in a non-verbal way. So communication in a non-verbal way, especially when there is a language gap, is something that we have always had in centuries. Because first of all, we smell things. Before them watching them, we can smell them, we can perceive them. So that rely your body, rely your senses, rely the three-dimensionality, your flesh and blood. Daniel, I've been working in the field for 30 years. And 30 years ago, it was a completely different environment. Design, furnitures used to be seeds. Seeds to plant in the houses of people to make beautiful plants or trees grow. of course, theoretical plants and trees, but something that could change their vision, could change their mind, could open their eyes. Nowadays, after 30 years, things are very different. You know, we are surrounded by objects. Our relationship with objects is something that we take and throw out. So that it's completely different. I mean, I wouldn't suggest to a kid to do my job nowadays. Probably it's not modern anymore. You know, there are many other things to do, but you know, the important thing is not forgetting that we have to take the courage to give shape to things. That's I think the common part between 30 years ago and nowadays. Give shape to things, because that makes a difference. So Daniel, it's a very good question. I always say that we call it Italian design, but then there is a little part of it which is Italian. Like we call French fries, you know? French fries, everybody loves French fries. They're not French, you know what I mean? It's like they belong to the world. So that in some ways, Italian design as an approach belongs to the world. Philip Stark is French, but he's an Italian designer. Mark Newson is Australian, but he's an Italian designer. So that Italian design, let's put it this way, is an approach to life. And used to be an approach, of course, of the old masters, completely free, completely naked of any preconcept, you know, preconceived ideas, courageous and full of lots of cultural issues. So that was Italian design, and that still is Italian design. But really, it's like French fries. We use the word Italian, but it's not necessarily belongs to Italy. You know what I mean? My father Daniel used to sell furnitures. So since I was born, I was surrounded with beautiful things around me. And that's also a very important education we can think about our children, you know, to surround them with beauty. And beauty is not necessarily expensive. You know, we were talking about Ferrari before. Beauty is not necessarily expensive. For example, I strongly believe that IKEA nowadays is doing a beautiful job. You know, I'm in touch to work with them as well, because they are doing fantastic things at a very affordable price with very sociological and ecological issues, so that really IKEA is giving a big lesson to the whole world. Because Ingvar Kamprad used to really believe in it. You know what I mean? It was not for the money. You know that Ingvar Kamprad, the founder of IKEA, used to fly economy all his life. He never used all this huge money, you know, the money he made, he never used it in an ignorant way like most of the billionaires around. He used to be someone that really believed in the fact of making everything accessible to everyone. So that, you see, we have to aim for the dreamers, the big thinkers, you know, they make the difference. You know, billionaires don't make the difference. Billionaires just spend money in a stupid way. Basically, as a designer nowadays, you could just do a 3D printing scheme and send it to the people, you know, and they can do their own furnitures. You know what I mean? It's like things evolve, things change. So that I'm not saying that you cannot be a designer, but things change. Don't approach as if it was 30 years ago, knocking at the companies. It doesn't work this way. You can go directly on the market. You know, under this point of view, I use social networks. It's not that I hate social networks, but they're dangerous. They're like the jungle. If you don't know the dangers of the jungles, you get killed. You know what I mean? So that you have to be aware of the risks, but as well as in the jungle, there are beautiful things to see and beautiful things to learn, so that you can go directly and immediately get your own market, get your own audience on social networks, so that there is good and bad in everything. You know, this is, after so many years, for sure I learned this thing. There is good and bad in everything, even in us. You know, even when we think that we are good people, there is something we're doing that is not so good. So that, don't look, even Hitler could have had something good. You know what I mean? It's like there is good and bad in everyone. Then, of course, you have to deal with your dark side and with your lighter side and point at it. You know what I mean? Give a direction to your life. Hitler gave the direction we know. Gandhi gave the opposite direction. So that we have to choose. You know, we are plenty. And actually, you know what? This is the most important thing. Freedom of choice. You know, let people choose who they want to be. Because they can really change the world. But really, it's a direction you give to your life. You know, I wouldn't use the word designers, I would use the word thinkers. Because first of all, they have to start thinking, start having a point of view, start taking a position on what's right and what's wrong in the world, you know? I mean, because being a designer, the way I learned from my masters and from school, was to take a position, you know, to know what you want. And now people don't know what they want. So they want to design things, but they don't know what for. What for? You first have to develop a need. You have to develop a principle and then give shape to it. You know, the chair doesn't come first, it comes second. After you developed a way of thinking. And that's the main mistake of young people, you know, that they don't develop a point of view. You know, Giulio Cappellini, we were talking about Giulio Cappellini. I remember I approached Giulio Cappellini as a student. I had won a few competitions in design. I was very young, and Giulio was already Giulio. And I went to him and showed him these pieces that I was doing as a student. He said, Fabio, they're very good pieces, but come back when you will develop a vision of life. I don't want pieces of design, I want a vision of life. When you will have it, we'll work together. And we started working together a few years ago. So that's very important, you know. You have to arrive there. Otherwise, you can design even beautiful things, but they are meaningless. You know, they don't make sense. Daniel, you founded Zagreb Design Week. And the way I see you, it's like a missionary man, you know, people that goes in places where the religion is not spread wide and start talking. And that's a beautiful thing about the Zagreb Design Week. You start talking to the people, to the young people, to the population about design. And through design, you can change a lot of things. That's why I think it's so valuable to do the design weeks all over the world, but especially in places like Zagreb, especially in places like Croatia. You know, because still there is a sense of reconstruction in this country. And that's what you need. Zagreb Design Week is so important here, so important.